I poured my heart into one cake for 7 long years. Then my closest friend took it, branded it as hers, and smiled while the world applauded. Tonight I'm telling you the raw truth behind that betrayal, and how I got myself back. It was 3:17 a.m. My tiny kitchen in Portland was dark and still. Only the cold blue light from my phone lit the wooden table where I sat alone. My hands were trembling so hard I could barely keep the phone steady. I stared at the screen, and the world seemed to stop. There it was. Vesper's new post. A beautiful carousel of cakes. My signature velvet bloom. Every delicate layer, every soft rose gold shimmer, every swirl I had spent 7 long years perfecting, posted as if it were hers. The caption underneath read simply, "My creation after years of hard work." My breath caught in my throat. Just 48 hours earlier, I had sat right here at this same table with her. I had opened my heart completely and sent her every single detail of the recipe, the exact temperatures, the secret resting times, the precise ratio that made the crumb melt like silk on the tongue. I trusted her with everything. She was my best friend, my sister for 10 years. We had promised each other we would build this dream together, escape the endless struggle, finally create something that was ours. Now she was calling it her own. I felt a sharp crack deep inside my chest. 7 years of my life. All those nights I stood here alone, covered in flour, tears mixing with the sugar as another batch failed. The $28,000 I borrowed, scraping together every cent just to keep my ovens running. The steady jobs I turned down because I believed in this cake. In us. All of it, taken in one single post. I lost my signature creation. I lost the future I had fought so hard to build. And worst of all, I lost the one person I believed would never, ever betray me. My eyes burned, but no tears came. Not yet. Only a heavy, suffocating numbness. But what I didn't know in that dark, silent moment was that 24 hours later, that very same post would force the entire city of Portland to see the truth. This isn't just a story about a stolen cake. It's a story about trust, about the real value of what we create with our own hands and sleepless nights, and about the quiet, undeniable power of proof that cannot be erased. If you've ever poured your whole soul into something, only to watch someone else wear the crown you bled for, I need you to stay with me, because I'm going to tell you everything that happened. My name is Elira Voss, and this is the night my dream was stolen in silence. But it's also the beginning of how I started to take it back. Have you ever thought that the person closest to you could be the one who quietly destroys everything you've built? I never believed it could happen to me, until it did. Those words on the screen kept burning behind my eyes. I couldn't look away. Even as the kitchen stayed dark and silent around me, my mind began drifting back, not to the pain of that moment, but to the long, quiet years that had led me here. 7 years. 300 nights where I stood alone in this same kitchen until the sky turned gray, testing and failing again and again, until the velvet bloom finally became mine. I had borrowed $28,000 I had no right to borrow, just to buy better ovens and ingredients that wouldn't break my heart every time they failed. I had walked away from 3 stable job offers, each one promising security, because I believed this dream was bigger than a paycheck. And through every single one of those hard years, Vesper was there. She would sit on the counter at midnight, legs swinging, cheering me on with that bright, familiar laugh. She'd taste every new version and say, "Elira, this is going to be ours one day. We're building something real together." She promised we would create a brand side by side, that we would finally escape the constant worry about money and rent and tomorrow. I believed her with every piece of my heart. I even turned down 3 big opportunities that could have changed everything for me. Because I wanted to share the success with her. because she was my sister in every way that mattered. Draven never said much, but he was there too, in his own quiet way. He worked long hours at his software job, so I wouldn't have to worry about bills. He made sure the fridge was never empty and the lights stayed on, giving me the space to chase something most people would have called impossible. And then there was Elias Thorne. He was 68 years old, the old baker who had taken me under his wing from the very first month I started this journey. He treated me like the daughter he never had. Every Saturday morning in his small, warm bakery downtown, he would watch me work and say in that low, gravelly voice, "Bread and cake aren't just sugar and flour, Elira. They carry the story of the hands that made them." His words always stayed with me, but somewhere along the way, the exhaustion began to settle deep in my bones. The late nights started to feel heavier. The doubts crept in quietly at first. Little questions I pushed away because I didn't want to seem ungrateful. Vesper's visits became shorter. Her encouragement started to feel lighter, almost automatic. Still, I stayed silent. I told myself that real sisters don't doubt each other, that love like ours could survive anything. I kept pouring everything I had into the velvet bloom, believing that when the time came, we would celebrate it together. The night before, everything changed. I sent her one last message. I was sitting right here, flowers still on my sleeves, tired but hopeful. My fingers hovered over the screen for a long moment before I typed, "Thank you for believing in me, Vesper. I couldn't have done any of this without you." I hit send and stared at the little blue check mark, feeling a small warmth in my chest. That was the last time I felt safe. Because the very next morning, she posted my cake as her own, and everything I had quietly carried for 7 years suddenly felt like it was crumbling between my fingers. I didn't know then that the silence I had kept for so long was about to break, and that the truth would come out in a way none of us could control. The silence in my kitchen didn't last long. By morning, Vesper had turned my velvet bloom into something else entirely. She launched it at 5 times the price I had ever dreamed of charging. She tagged big local brands, luxury event planners, and high-end venues across Portland. Local newspapers and food blogs quickly picked it up, calling her a talented young entrepreneur breaking new ground with her signature creation. Her family flooded the post with love. Kyle, her father, was one of the first to comment. Her relatives liked and shared it enthusiastically. Someone even posted a story with the words, "Proud of our girl breaking the glass ceiling." I watched it all unfold in real time, sitting on the edge of my bed, still in the same flour-dusted hoodie from the night before. Within 72 hours, my own orders completely dried up. Clients who had been waiting months for my velvet bloom suddenly went quiet. My Instagram account started getting flagged. People began calling me a copycat in the comments. The algorithm buried my page deeper and deeper until it felt like I had disappeared. I lost everything in just 3 days. That evening, I finally broke. Draven came home from work and found me sitting on the kitchen floor, surrounded by empty mixing bowls. For the first time in our marriage, I didn't try to hide it. I looked up at him, tears streaming down my face, and whispered the words I had been too afraid to say out loud. "I have nothing left, Draven. She took it all." He knelt beside me without saying anything at first. He just held me while I cried. The kind of crying that comes from deep in your chest, the kind that leaves you gasping for air. The phone rang late that night. It was Elias Thorne. His voice on the other end was shaky, older than I had ever heard it. "Elira, my girl," he said slowly, fighting to keep steady. "I saw what happened. I have proof, old photos with timestamps, videos from the bakery when you first created the velvet bloom 2 years ago. Your handwritten notes I kept. This isn't right." I couldn't speak for a long moment. Something between relief and fresh pain rose in my throat. Then came Finn Calder. He was a young freelancer I had met only once at a local workshop months earlier. He messaged me late that same night with a short video attachment. In it, I was standing in Elias's bakery, carefully explaining the velvet bloom technique to a small group while Finn quietly filmed for his own practice. The date on the video was clear, 2 years before Vesper's post. Not long after, there was a soft knock at my door. Mira Lennox, one of my most loyal longtime customers, stood there holding a small box. Inside was one of my original velvet bloom cakes she had saved from months ago. She stepped inside, set the box down gently, and looked at me with kind, steady eyes. "You're not alone in this, Elira," she said quietly. "I remember whose hands made this cake. A lot of us do." Her words should have brought comfort. Instead, they left me standing in front of the bathroom mirror later that night, staring at my own reflection. My eyes were swollen. My face looked tired and lost. I whispered to myself, barely loud enough to hear, "Do I stay quiet forever and let this become her story? Or do I speak up, even if it means losing even more?" I still didn't have an answer. My heart was too heavy, too afraid, too broken to decide. But I didn't know then that in just 6 hours, one person I had never met before would walk into my life and quietly begin to change everything. I stood in front of that mirror for a long time. The weight of everything pressed down on me, the fear, the shame, the exhaustion. But somewhere deep inside, something small and quiet began to shift. Elias Thorne's call kept echoing in my mind, his shaky voice saying he had proof. For the first time in days, I felt a tiny spark of courage. I decided I couldn't stay silent anymore. The next morning, Elias sent me everything. Old time-stamped photos from his bakery. A video of me working on the velvet bloom 2 years earlier. And the worn notebook filled with my handwritten notes and recipes that I had left at his shop long ago. He didn't push me. He simply said, "Whenever you're ready, my girl. The truth is patient." With trembling hands, I called Finn Calder. He came over that same afternoon, laptop under his arm, calm and focused. Draven sat beside me on the couch, his hand resting gently on my knee. Together, the three of us worked on a short video, just 90 seconds. I spoke softly into the camera, my voice steady but raw. I didn't scream or accuse. I simply told the truth about how much this cake had cost me. The sleepless nights, the debt, the dreams I had carried alone. We wove in the old clips of me in Elias's bakery, my hands carefully shaping the layers. At the end, Elias appeared on screen. He looked straight into the camera with those kind, tired eyes and said slowly, "I taught Elira Voss how to make bread and cake, not so someone could steal her story." We kept it simple, honest, no drama. Mira Lennox and Sage Harlow helped in their own quiet ways. They shared the video gently among their circles, without loud calls for attack, just honest words and quiet support. We posted it at 8 o'clock that evening. By midnight, it had reached 180,000 views. I sat on the couch between Draven and Finn, watching the numbers climb in silence. Something inside me began to change. The heavy despair that had crushed me for days slowly lifted. It didn't disappear completely, but it made room for something clearer, a calm resolve. For the first time since this nightmare began, Draven looked at me with something new in his eyes, pride mixed with quiet awe. He squeezed my hand and whispered, "There she is. My wife is coming back." Then the messages started pouring in. Old customers wrote, "We remember whose hands truly made that cake." Several well-known local chefs publicly stood up for me, sharing the video with simple, powerful words of support. It felt like the city was slowly waking up to the real story. But the biggest surprise came later that night. My phone began buzzing non-stop. Vesper's name lit up the screen again and again. Missed calls, desperate text messages, voice notes filled with panic. She wanted to talk. She wanted to explain. I stared at the notifications, my thumb hovering over the screen. But I didn't answer a single one. Instead, another message arrived. This one was from a producer at a local television station in Portland. It was short and direct. "We saw your video. Would you be open to coming on our morning show to tell your story?" I read it twice, heart pounding. The quiet storm had begun, and I still didn't know just how strong it would grow. The notifications wouldn't stop. Vesper tried to fix it the only way she knew how. She posted a short story saying it was all a small misunderstanding, that we had simply worked on it together. But the moment she posted that, the old evidence began spreading like wildfire. The time-stamped videos, my handwritten notes, the clips from Elias's bakery. People shared them quietly at first, then faster and faster. Her carefully built image started to crack. I didn't say a word in return. A few days later, I received an invitation to appear on a short local talk show in Portland. My hands shook when I read the message, but I accepted. The morning of the interview, I sat under the bright studio lights, heart pounding. Elias Thorne sat beside me, calm and steady like an old oak tree. When the host asked me to speak, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't attack. I simply told my truth. I spoke about the long, lonely nights spent creating something from nothing, about what it means to pour your soul into your work, about how fragile trust can be, and how deeply it hurts when it breaks. Elias spoke only once, his voice low and clear. I watched Elira build that cake with her own hands. I taught her the craft, but the heart of it, that was always hers. His simple words carried more weight than any argument ever could. The response came quickly. Vesper lost nearly every brand partnership she had secured. The online conversation turned heavy against her. People who once praised her now questioned everything. Elira Voss, my mother, and Kale stayed completely silent. They offered no defense for Vesper this time. Their silence spoke louder than any words. In the weeks that followed, new doors began to open. 2 well-known bakeries in Portland reached out with serious collaboration offers. A premium ingredient brand contacted me about creating a signature line together. I made a decision. With the help of Finn Calder, who became a steady and trusted partner, I opened a small studio. We named it Voss and Thorne. Elias accepted the role of honorary advisor. He would stop by whenever he wanted, offering quiet guidance and stories from his long life in baking. One quiet afternoon, Mira Lennox and Sage Harlow sat with me in the new studio over coffee. Mira looked at me gently and said something I will never forget. Real success isn't about keeping your secrets safe forever. It's about having people who are willing to stand beside you when those secrets get stolen. Her words settled deep in my chest. Finn stayed on as my long-term partner, helping me build something stronger and more honest than I had imagined possible. And then came one golden afternoon I will carry with me always. I stood in the finished studio, late sunlight pouring through the tall windows. In my hands was the very first velvet bloom cake I had baked since everything fell apart. The rose gold shimmer caught the light just right. Draven stood a few steps away, holding our little daughter Navara in his arms. She watched me with wide, curious eyes. I looked at them both, my voice soft but sure. I can't get back the 7 years I lost, but I got myself back. And that is the greatest gift of all. Tears welled up as I said it, but they were different this time. Not tears of brokenness, tears of quiet strength. If someone ever tries to steal your dream, don't stay silent. Let the proof speak. Let the people who truly believe in you stand up beside you. Because the family you choose, the ones who show up when it matters most, will always be stronger than the ties you were born into. I placed the cake gently on the wooden counter. The scent of vanilla and warm sugar filled the air. For the first time in a long time, I felt whole. This was my story. This was my reckoning. And this was my beginning again. Finally, let me send my deep thanks to you. We appreciate you more than you think. If this tale stirred something deep inside, We invite you to remain part of this frontier of memories. More true stories of honor, compassion, and destiny are waiting for you here. Subscribe, share, comment, and thank you for riding with us today. Aviso legal. Barra disclaimer. Our content is designed for artistic and entertainment purposes and may reinterpret historical themes using fictional touches. We apply AI tools thoughtfully, only to support production, while keeping human supervision over editing, emotional tone, and narrative coherence. We always comply with regulatory guidelines for AI-based media and avoid deepfake practices or identity manipulation. All supporting components remain legally sourced. Please ask for authorization before sharing or adapting any segment. Your respect makes it possible for us to continue telling meaningful stories.